I'm a 911 dispatcher, and the call about the man in the cornfield still haunts my dreams. I've been a 911 dispatcher in rural Ohio for 15 years. In this job, you hear it all. I've coached people through childbirth, talked down jumpers, and listened to more pointless arguments about stolen lawn gnomes than I can count. You develop a thick skin and a sixth sense for what's a real crisis and what's a prank call from bored teenagers. The call that shattered that sixth sense came on a quiet Tuesday night in late October. It was just after 1 a.m., the graveyard shift, and the board was dead silent. Then line 1 lit up. The voice on the other end belonged to a woman, maybe in her late 50s, who sounded calm but with a slight tremor you only notice after years of listening for it. 911, what's your emergency? I asked, my fingers already poised over the keyboard. There's a man standing in my cornfield, she said, her voice unnervingly steady. I typed in her address, pulling up the satellite view, just as I expected. An isolated farmhouse, surrounded on 3 sides by acres of corn that was dry and ready for harvest. Okay, ma'am. Is he on your property? Is he armed? The usual questions. He's just standing there, in the middle of the field, completely still facing the house. I dispatched a unit, telling her a deputy was on the way, but that it would be about 10 minutes given her remote location. I kept her on the line, standard procedure for a potential prowler. For the first few minutes, it was routine. She described him as tall and thin, wearing what looked like old-fashioned overalls and a wide-brimmed hat. Nothing threatening, just odd. He's not moving at all, she whispered after a moment of silence. It's like he's a scarecrow, but we don't have one in that spot. I would know. I assured her the deputy was getting closer and to stay away from the windows. The calm in her voice was slowly starting to fray at the edges. He's turning his head, she said suddenly, her voice dropping to a near inaudible whisper that made me lean into my microphone. My own back straightened. He's looking right at the house now. Right at my window. I tried to keep my tone level, a rock in her rising panic. Ma'am, that's okay. The deputy is just a few minutes out. He probably just heard the car coming. Then she said the words that still crawl up my spine. No, you don't understand. His body didn't move. It's still facing the field. Only his head turned. It turned. It's all the way around. A cold electric dread washed over me. This wasn't a prank. This was something else entirely. Before I could process that impossible image, a deafening guttural scream ripped through the phone, followed by the violent sound of shattering glass. Ma'am, what's happening? Talk to me. I yelled into my headset. There was a brief scuffling sound, a heavy thud, and then silence. An absolute chilling silence that lasted for 5 agonizing seconds. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I was about to radio the deputy to expedite when a new sound came through the line. It was a slow, raspy breathing, like dry leaves being crushed underfoot. Then a voice, low and distorted and utterly inhuman, spoke a single horrifying sentence. The corn is hungry now. The line went dead. The deputies arrived 3 minutes later to a house that was completely still. The front door was locked. The only sign of disturbance was a shattered living room window. Inside, they found the phone dangling off its hook and a single, large, muddy footprint on the wooden floor, a print made by a bare foot. There was no sign of the woman. They followed the tracks out into the cornfield, which led them about 50 yards in before they just stopped. No more footprints, no sign of a struggle, nothing. It was as if whoever or whatever was there had simply been swallowed by the earth. They searched the entire property and the surrounding area for days with dogs and helicopters. The woman was never found, not a trace. Every fall when the corn is high and the nights get quiet, I think about that call. And sometimes when I'm driving home late, I swear I can see a tall, thin figure standing at the edge of the fields, its head turned just a little too far, watching.